So a big thank you to you, Mary Jo, and you, Kim, for getting us to this point. I uh, I thought I would start by making the point that um, this doesn't have to be complicated, and I think sometimes people see this finishing strong award that Gail and I set up and think, oh my gosh, this has to be brand new and innovative and different and somehow. But so I thought I would start by telling you very quickly how I started what I did in my village, because it's very replicable and it's the kind of thing we're looking for. So I started about it was over 7 years ago in 2017 that I sent a note out to my colleagues in the village, and by the way, I can send you this. I can send you this if any of you want to. Perhaps Kim, you could put my email address in the chat room, and any of you are welcome to write to me and say, Chris, please send me this document. So what I did is I sent, and you could do this yourselves. I mean, it was very. I sent a note out, and I said, I'd like to start a village interest group on aging, dying, and death. It was as simple as that. I just said I'd like to start a group, and and um and then I said I see this interest group meeting once a month at my house, perhaps for an hour, to discuss, explore, and learn about the important topic of aging, death, and dying. And I said sometimes we might discuss a book, sometimes watch a video, sometimes have a guest speaker, or simply we might just meet ourselves and discuss things. And I listed some of the topics that I thought we might focus on, and there were 20 of them, but let me just give you a few. How to be a super ager. How can we reinterpret retirement so it's more exciting and meaningful? How do we achieve a good death? That came out to be the title of the book I wrote. Leaving a legacy, creating an ethical will, um, uh, planning your funeral and memorial service. Oh, actually, I can hear something. Can you hear that, Mary Jo? Okay. Thank you. I was and then I said we'll aim to build an interest group with a high level of trust, so people feel free to talk freely and candidly. And then I proposed a meeting time. Okay, so that's what I did. And I just wanted to start that way because getting your village to focus on end of life issues doesn't have to be some brand thing. It can be starting off just with a note like that, like that. So for three years, up until COVID hit, the this group that I started met monthly at my house. And I invited, and you could do the similar thing. I invited outside speakers to talk about advanced directives, decluttering, death cleaning, hospice care, palliative care, keeping fit, um, death doulas, reinventing retirement, cremation versus green burials, leaving a legacy, finding meaning in old age, um, uh, dying with dignity, and many other topics. And these meetings were well attended, and this aging well group soon became the most popular group in our village. But I must say one reason for that is because I worked very hard to get people there. I would spend probably 4 or 5 hours a week writing individual personal emails to people saying, we have this meeting coming up on this subject. Would very much like you to come, and those personal, that really helped a lot. I think, reaching out personally to people to come, encourage them to come. And another thing we did is that Gail and I offered hot cider, wine, small eats, cheese, brie, things like this. So this gave the event a social and fun atmosphere. So people enjoyed coming because they were enjoyable meetings. And then also to build community spirit, I started a little weekly e-newsletter to village members about aging, death, and dying, which I still do. Last week I sent out an issue number 63. By the way, if any of you would like to see that, let me know. Just again, drop me a quick email. Send me, just say on it, send newsletter, and I'll send you the newsletter. They're very fun. They're full of cartoons, funny cartoons, and lots of stuff about aging and dying. Okay, so I'm saying all this only because I don't want you to think that to win a Finishing Strong award has to be incredibly innovative and new and complicated. No, it just can be the simplest basic things. You're trying to create an ongoing program where people can over time learn about aging, death, and dying issues. Um, so when the pandemic hit, I did something else. I posed questions to the village. For example, what are the most important lessons you learned from your parents or grandparents? This was fascinating. And I wrote personal letters to people asking them to respond, and people wrote in replies. Other questions I posed: what are the best ways to age successfully? What advice would you give the next generation about dealing with old age? When do you feel most alive? These were questions that people found very interesting, and we created some wonderful conversations around them. Then we so it's gone on like that. It's been very fun, and we've had meetings with how to age well, how to write an AFL will. We had a meeting with Final Exit Network. We had advanced directives, one on green burials, one on death cleaning, death doulas, planning a funeral, hospice, and so on and so on. Now, there are lots of ideas that I haven't tried. I don't want you to think that I've done everything. I'm not. I haven't done a death cafe. I haven't hosted a death dinner. I haven't created a before I die digital wall. I haven't created any multi-generational projects. These are all good ideas, but I haven't yet pursued them. I haven't tried really watching and discussing films such as A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks about aging and retirement, or Shadow, the 1993 film with Shadowlands with Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Wing. I was thinking we could show that and discuss it. I haven't done that yet. But I do want to say in general that these meetings, they do not need to be morbid or gloomy. On the contrary, what we found is these conversations and activities can be sort of joyful and fun. And sorry for that ringing phone. I've come to the conclusion that village meetings on death and dying and aging are valuable, not only because of the learning that occurs, but because it brings village members together and helps them to bond. As I say, the mood and tone of these meetings are typically upbeat and fun. There's a lot of humor and camaraderie there. They are as much about community building and connection as they are about death and dying. So I think they really do exemplify the mission of the village movement. Now, I just want to just before I take questions or any, by the way, please do think of questions you'd like to ask now, either about death and dying or about the Finishing Strong Award, how to apply, when to do it, how to do it, anything like that. So think about questions you want to ask me and Mary Jo in a minute. But let me just say this, that there are sometimes people think aging, death, and dying is kind of one topic, but it's a huge area, and multiple topics come under it. And so I just want to talk about a few of them. So there's a chapter in my book called To Live Well to Die Well. And this comes from the hospice nurses that I work with at Montgomery Hospice, where I serve as a volunteer. They said to me, the people who die well tend to live well. And this really hit home for me, because I could see that living well didn't guarantee you to die well. But if you live well, you'll have good friends, lovely, good relationships with people, you're there's a greater chance of dying well. So I think village programs on living well fit beautifully under this Finishing Strong Award. So you might think about doing exercise classes or plant-based cooking classes, or how to build friendships, or volunteer opportunities, or lots of other ideas to help your members live healthier, more active and engaged lives. And another topic is decluttering and death cleaning. You might involve a decluttering, a death cleaning expert, someone like myself. I give lots of talks on that. And by the way, let me just say, I want to offer myself as a pro bono speaker for you. So if you're looking for someone to come and talk about green burials or advanced directives or death cleaning or all these subjects that I know a lot about, feel free to call on me, and I will be delighted to give a talk, come and give a workshop for your village. You might invite a decluttering expert to help members get started. Anyway, another subject is advanced directives, and healthcare agents. This is very important. And having the what Atul Gawande calls the hard conversations about the end of life. This is very important. And so village programs to encourage members to complete advanced directives might involve bringing in an expert, someone like myself, and we've done that at my village. And so the advanced directives are so important in achieving good death, that I can imagine villages using various techniques to educate and help their members with them, including workshops, outside speakers, one-on-one coaching, and handouts. By the way, talk about handouts reminds me to tell you that on my website, and Kim, would you be very kind and put my website in the chat room, please? That is chrispalmeronline.com, www.chrispalmeronline.com. If you go to my website and go to the Death and Dying tab, you'll see lots of handouts there, and all sorts of over a dozen handouts, all kinds of things, and you're free to use them. They are free for you to take and use them in any way you want. So I wanted to mention that. Another general area is legacy letters, ethical wills, memoirs. These are ways of letting our loved ones know what is deep in our hearts. So after we've gone, they will remember us better and know what our values and convictions were. So possible village programs in this area include forming a shared interest group that meets regularly to discuss drafts and help each other by sharing experiences and learning. So, and again, you can bring in someone like myself to talk about that. Another topic is caregiving. Caregivers are a neglected and exhausted group of people. Some of you may be caregivers yourself, and they're usually unpaid women who number in this country by the millions. And village programs might involve reaching out to members who are caregivers to see how they can be supported and what their particular needs are. I could easily see an interest group being created by a village on caregiving for caregivers themselves. Another area to talk in this under this rubric, under this thing, is palliative care, hospice, and death doulas or end-of-life doulas. They can be a godsend to patients seeking help dealing with severe illnesses and other potential end-of-life issues. So village programs might include outside experts discussing palliative care, hospice care, and death doulas. For example, you can invite a death doula or an end-of-life doula or palliative care doctor to come to speak at your village. And your village could supply its members with handouts and information on palliative care and how to find and select a hospice and why non-profit hospices are usually better than for-profit hospice, not always, but often. And villages could also help members pose the right questions to hospices to find out the information needed to determine whether the hospice has the same values and standards as a patient. For example, if you think you might use voluntarily stopping eating and drinking to hasten your death at the end of life, you want to make sure the hospice that you are thinking of going to, or your loved one is going to, shares that value and is willing to be supportive. Another general area is the right to die area. This is fraught and complex, and people have different views and about it. But medical aid in dying, not yet legal in Maryland, but we think it will be in the next few years. Volunteers, I've already mentioned VSED, voluntarily stopping eating and drinking, palliative sedation, and so on, stopping treatment. These are all ways to give patients more agency at the end of life. And they're ways of hastening death if you want to hasten your death. Now, not everybody wants to. The good death is the death that you want, and you may want all the medical interventions you can have. You may want a hip replacement in the last few days of your life. If that's what you want, you absolutely have the right to ask for it. But many of us want a peaceful, gentle, dignified death, not a death in an ICU with tubes coming out of every orifice and a ventilator so we can't talk, and so on. So there are ways of hastening death in the face of intractable and unbearable suffering, including withholding unwanted life-saving treatments and the other things that I've mentioned, including medical aid in dying. So village programs might involve meeting to learn more about these issues, inviting outside speakers, such as someone from the Final Exit Network or the Hemlock Society, sharing information and experiences and discussing members' worries and concerns. Then when a person has died, of course, there's the question of body disposition, a very infelicitous phrase, but that's the phrase that people use, how to dispose of the body respectfully and responsibly. And the three most popular ways are immediate burial, conventional burial, and with embalming and flame cremation. But of course, as you all know, there are new ways now of disposing of bodies, which are far greener, green burial being the most obvious, but others like natural organic reduction or human composting and alkaline hydrolysis or water cremation, which Desmond Tutu used. So these are much better ways, and they're coming in. Wes Moore signed legislation which we lobbied on to make natural organic reduction and alkaline hydrolysis now legal in Maryland. The first time it's become legal in Maryland. And so there are now entrepreneurs now developing those opportunities for us. So on green burials, village programs might include a field trip to a nearby green burial ground like Serenity Ridge in Baltimore or Reflection Park, where my wife Gail and I are going to be buried. Reflection Park in Silver Spring, just outside Silver Spring. Other programs other program ideas for villages are in-person discussions over coffee or wine, outside speakers, why embalming is best avoided, watching a pertinent video together and discussing it, and finding and selecting green burial grounds. Other village programs might include a village home director. We invited a village home director to our village. It was fascinating. Will Pumphrey from Pumphrey Funeral Homes. To talk about the services they offer and how much they cost. A village could invite experts to speak about conservation burial, conventional burial, embalming, flame cremation, alkaline hydrolysis, human composting, home funerals. And I talk about those things. So you can invite someone like me or someone else. And villagers could also arrange, we did this is fascinating. Villagers could also arrange visits to a funeral home. This is absolutely fascinating. And a good funeral director always welcomes visitors, and they can take you around, show you how they work. It's very interesting. We did this at Pumphrey Funeral Home where they have a crematory. Not many people know that there's a crematory at funeral home, and we saw it, and they told us all about it. It's very, very interesting. Then, of course, there's the area of commemorating and celebrating a person's life after they have died. The primary purpose of a funeral or memorial service is to honor the deceased and comfort the living. So village programs might include creating a new shared interest group to encourage members to celebrate transitions and rites of passage, including death. And these life celebrations can be simple. They can be secular or religious, and then finally, of course, there's grief and mourning, which is often incredibly and unbearably painful. And coming to terms with death and the end of life can be intense and challenging. So village programs in this area of mourning might involve inviting grief experts to talk about the topic, inviting members to share their stories, because we've all been touched by death and dying, and people have lots of interesting stories about it, and people like to have a chance to talk about the grief they experience. And then a village can have an active program of reaching out to grieving members. All right, so it's 11:24, and let me pause there. I hope I haven't been gabbling incoherently. If I have, forgive me. Would anybody like to ask a question? We'll take some questions now, and then we'll have Mary Jo lead us through the application for finishing.
One thing I might try to do before we do that, I'm going to try and share my screen and just show you the WAVE webpage that has so much of those materials. So let me just do that briefly. You'll get the let me do, now where did that go? Oh, for Pete's sakes. Well, maybe I'm not going to, there we go. Okay, so can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see that it's just wavevillages.org Finishing Strong Award. It's got information about the application that we're going to talk about in just a minute. It's got information about the prior winners, but I just want you to see all the recordings and all the documents and handouts that are available on our website. So we do encourage you to go to the website as you're considering putting in your application and making use of all of that that's already there. Go ahead, Chris.
No, that's great. No, thank you, Mary Jo. So I want to invite anybody to make a comment or ask a question or to, I might have gabbled. I tend to talk fast. I might not have been clear. So Jan, I'll come to you in 1 second. That's great. I love a question. So Jan, thank you. But I'll come to you in 1 second. Just hang on a second. So you might have a question, or you might want to clarify something. You might want to say, Chris, you gabbled over something. You mixed your words. Explain again what you meant by X, Y, or Z. You might want me to clarify something, which I'd be delighted to do. So ask any question you want on any subject. So Jan, please go ahead.
I'm part of a new village. I'm on the board of Seaville Village in Charlottesville, Virginia. And we started enrolling members in January, and now we're about to have our 35th member, and we have about 25 volunteers. So how many people come to your groups, and what kind of is a good starting number for having a group?
A good starting number is 1. In other words, it doesn't matter if you, and as Emily Dickinson, if you stop one heart from breaking, that makes a successful life. So 1 is great. Usually we've got, our village is small. We have about 130, 40 members. But the group that I run is very popular, and we usually get 30, 35 members.
That's terrific.
But not always. No, I mean, sometimes it's 10. And I like it when it's small, because then when you have one-on-one, you can have much more discussion with people. But the numbers don't matter. 5 people coming, 10 people coming, 30 people coming. I think it's great. You've got 35 members, 25 volunteers. Jan, fantastic. Well done and good luck. And if you start up a program on death and dying or aging and things we've been talking about, and you get 3 people to your first meeting, that is excellent. Because the important thing is this ongoing, that you're creating a rippling effect of spreading knowledge and so on. So just if I hope I've answered your question. The size of it doesn't matter. What matters is the intention, the fact that it'll be ongoing, that the village has made a commitment to work on aging, death, and dying issues. Am I helping you?
Yes, we have a lot of resources in Charlottesville because they have just started a green burial ground here.
Oh my gosh.
A number of death doulas are working here. So and the library has had a number of films on death and dying. I think we just need to get the word out to our members about it and start a small group.
Absolutely. And getting a film from the library and showing it's wonderful. Get one of those death doulas to come in and share what they do is another great idea. Having the person who runs the new green burial ground that you mentioned in Charlottesville, inviting them in to give a talk to your village. I mean, these are all great ideas and just the kind of thing we're looking for in the Finishing Strong award. So.
Yes, I had another idea, which is that rather than restricting this to just your members, this is such an interesting and important topic that it might be a good draw for attracting people who have not yet joined your village. So if you had the inaugural event, free and open to anyone, that might be, a very good, I hate to call it a marketing tool, but it might really attract some.
That's an excellent point, Mary Jo, and Jan. Mary's got a good point there. I mean, you sometimes want to keep the meeting. Sometimes you want to think about just having members so they can talk with more confidence because it's their friends, they know the people. But I love what Mary Jo said, and I've done that. I've said, please invite. We're having a meeting next week on green burial. Please invite a neighbor or a friend who might be interested in joining the village, and then and that often happens. It's a lovely way to expand membership. So Mary Jo is quite right.
Well, it could be just even the inaugural meeting. We're having an inaugural meeting to explore this. We'd like everyone to come. We plan then to begin a series of programs for our village. But bring everybody in at least at the beginning.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
idea.
that's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank
And
you,
raise your
Jenny.
hands, in the React button down below, you'll see a raise your hand button. So if you want to go
Oh,
into
there are
that.
there's 5. Oh, look at this. Finish. Oh, maybe. Okay.
My
Finish.
chat is frozen. I am very sorry, but my chat is frozen. So Chris, if you can see it,
Yes, I can see
you're
it.
gonna have
Yeah.
to, or maybe,
Yeah, no. Let me
There it goes.
let me go through them. So, Kim very kindly put up my email address. So I encourage you to drop me a quick email and say, please send me. There are 2 things I've offered here. One is the initial what I did back in 2017 to launch our group. Now, you might want to see that. And again, you can feel free to copy these in any way you want. And then the second thing was. The second thing was that's gone out of my head. What was it? The gosh, sorry, there was a second thing I offered, and I can't remember what it was. But okay, it'll come. It'll come
The
back to me.
newsletter. It was the
The newsletter.
newsletter.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you. The newsletter. Yeah, if you want to like to see the newsletter I put out, I'll send you the one I did last week, number 63. And and then Kim put up my my website, which you can find lots of handouts. Um, and then the link to the Finishing Strong Award. And then now Mohammed wrote, this is very difficult task. How do we make it easier? So Mohammed, that's a good question, and it is difficult because death and dying is a taboo topic. Although I've noticed when people get a chance to talk about it, they love that opportunity. So it is taboo, but paradoxically, it's also something sometimes people love to talk about. But so I think to make it easier, so bring in people who know about it, people like myself. You invite me to give to run a workshop with you and so on. And then I think the more you do it, if you have monthly meetings, after a year or two, you're going to find it's not so difficult to talk about it, and not so difficult to raise. So I mean, Mohammed is, and then the other thing is, I would, to make it easier, make it fun. Use, be funny, be humorous. It doesn't have to be the meetings don't have to be morbid or dour. They can be full of camaraderie. And when people come in, give them a warm welcome, give them a glass of wine, find ways, or of coffee, or hot cider, find ways to make it fun and enjoyable.
Chris, it occurred to me also that if you begin with a topic on the leading edge of aging and dying, like advanced directives, or even just a living will or something like that, things that everybody needs to have. They really must have those. The other thing I'd say is that I know that Dr. Chaudhry is with the Golden Age Village and the Islamic Center up in Baltimore. And they have a wonderful program of Sunday suppers. And in fact, we're going to feature them early in November if you look at our website. And those Sunday suppers, I know, Dr. Chaudhry, that you open them up to people, around the community, and that they have been very successful.
Great.
So you might think about whether at one of those suppers, introducing a very simple introductory session speaker about this to test the interest, that might be one channel for you.
Yeah, great.
Are people ready to maybe start taking a look through the application? Because we really hope that you will apply for this award. Chris has given you a lot of information. I don't want to cut this short. If people have important questions for him, why please, raise your hand now, or else we'll go on to the application. You can even raise your hand this way if you want to.
Yeah. Just wave. Oh yes, Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Wait a minute. Whoops, you're still muted, Nancy. You're still muted.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to share. I come from a caregiving background, and now I support we have a name called Community for Life, but we're switching into villages. I have 15 volunteers, and I have over 50 clients. And because I work for the Maryland Department of Aging, but just to share with my background, I just wanted to share that advanced directives are like so important for the caregiver, for the family. It provides such a peace to know that you're providing someone with what they wanted without them having to tell you. And I'm going to incorporate that with all my clients to make sure that's all covered. And it's interesting to me that that's not something on the forefront of when I was in caregiving for so long, that no one really said, okay, let's make sure this is in place. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
just,
Nancy, as you know, it's a shocking statistic, but generally only about 35% of people have advanced directives or living wills, and in communities of color, that figure declines to close to 20%. So this is a those, I mean, the numbers should be closer to 100%, as you were just indicating. So yeah, no, thank you for comment. Yeah, advanced directives are so important, and yeah.
Another shocking statistic, though, is how often they are ignored in the hospital, and especially in the ER when they are most needed.
Yeah.
Those people are moving fast. There have been articles about it again.
Yeah.
The profession recognizes that this is not appropriate. I think the Washington Post had an article, maybe it was the New York Times. This man, didn't want to live, but they didn't listen to her. So I think that the caregivers and the family need to know that they may need to, I don't know, have it with them and be aggressive in showing it. Also, in every state, there's something that is really separate from an advanced directive, which is very important. And it's called either a physician order for life-sustaining treatments, or in Maryland, it's the Maryland Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. It's either
Pulse or MOLST.
MOLST or POLST.
Yeah.
And that actually is supposed to be part of your medical record. And that the advanced directive is supposed to also be added. I mean, you can give it to your physician and say add it, but the MOLST or the POLST gets formally entered into the record. But again, the number of times that it's ignored. I've actually elaborated on mine. I don't just check, oh, I don't want this or I don't want that. I go into great detail about the exact circumstances when I would want this, that, or the other, because things aren't black and white. No. And so don't hesitate to fill in extra spaces with exactly what you would like.
Yeah, Mary Jo, very, very good points. And I just want to add that this underscores how important it is to have those hard conversations to back up your advanced directive, because then you want a healthcare agent with some backbone who can stand up to imperious doctors who might say your loved one needs to be intubated immediately and needs to have a peg feed, so the healthcare agent for you can say very strongly, no, I talk with them and they said to me explicitly, do not do that. So these conversations back up the advanced directive and the post. Yeah, very good.
I just have one more thing. A lot of my caregiving towards the end before I started working here was for Alzheimer's. So you have to get that conversation when they still have the mentality, that's really important. And secondly, I'm not sure about this, and I don't know if you know, but I knew that one of my clients had their advanced directives and living will registered at the hospital, and we do have like a MyChart type thing. I assume that it goes in there.
Yes, you can. Yeah, my advanced directive is part of my medical record, so you can just give it to your doctor and ask them to put it in your record. At the same time, I've supplemented mine, just as Mary Jo has. I supplemented mine with a letter to my doctor with explicit directions of what to do, what not to do. So yes, you make it part of your record. And of course, the POLST and MOLST forms that Mary Jo talked about are signed by a doctor. They are medical directives. So they have become part of your record too. And with regard to dementia, Nancy, thank you for raising that huge problem. And one of the best dementia coders, and by that I mean something you add to your advanced directive, a dementia coder. One of the best ones, I've looked at many of them, and one of the best ones I've seen comes from Compassion and Choices.
Good.
if you have dementia, if you think you might be getting, you might get dementia later on, as we all might, then it's good to go to the Compassion and Choices website and do a search for dementia coda, or just dementia addition, and it leads you through and you can just write it there and then add it to your advanced directive. It's a very, very good.
Any other comments before Dr. Chaudhry?
Yes, Chris, I just want to mention, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I just want to mention that, when the family member is on hospice, it's very difficult situation. The family is fighting with each other. One person said, no, don't put on the fire. Don't. It's a very difficult situation. What we figured out is we have a lot of other programs, but we figured out one of the professional physician, he sit down with the family. He go there and sit down with the family at their home and explain to them the situation. Because that's the best way to go, is put in the hospice and not to delay the life. And that's really working, because the family comes on the same page and then they settle down. It's just that we find it very helpful. And we're very thankful to Dr. Coker. He's one of our member, and he goes out and tremendously help the family in our community.
That's wonderful. Well, good for him. Of course, as you are indicating, the challenge comes when the family refuses to be reconciled, or when there's one sibling, perhaps, who's been neglectful, flies in from California.
Right.
Doctors call these seagulls,
right,
because they shit on everything.
Right.
And so, but your doctor colleague sounds excellent, and a doctor like that with good diplomatic and negotiating skills can do wonders for bringing a family together.
That's what I recommend to the whole village, the whole organization. Find one of the physicians, he's expert on that one, and they're willing to do that one, because 60 and 75 physicians, they are ready to retire. They love to do this kind of job, We are in our next door community. There are other communities. We find a couple of physicians also over there. They say, they love to do that one, these kind of things, They're helpful, And we are helping An-Noor Foundation and ICOM in our Baltimore County. So they are willing to join the village also.
Wonderful.
You'll be hearing more application for joining 2 more village members in the community.
Great.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Any other comments before we go to the application? Okay, let me get it. Let me share my screen. And because we're trying to make this as easy as possible. Oops, wasn't what I wanted to share. So hold on, I want to close out of that one. I want to get to my Word document. There, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't see it.
Do the other viewers see my screen with the 2025 Finishing Strong Award application up?
We see the documents.
Yeah, we're seeing the old one.
Right.
No, it's not an old one. This is the new.
I mean we're seeing the
recordings.
the
okay, let me first of all, let me stop sharing and clear totally out of Safari so that won't come up.
Yeah.
With Safari altogether. Now, that won't be in competition with this.
Yeah, we were seeing the one you showed us before.
I'm going to go back to share.
Okay.
And now I'm going to do this. Now, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Application.
Okay, so this is on the website again. And by the way, we do have a short URL. It's just wavevillages.org/finishing strong award, all strung together. Okay. And it's also from our homepage. You can go down to WAVE programs and you'll find this, but we'll put links in there. So I'm not going to talk about these details. We do need full contact information, and let's start here. We do hope that you'll give us a real picture of who you are. You know, who are the, what's the area that you serve? Who are the people that you serve? Have you been in operation a long time? Do you have a lot of volunteers? Do you have other support? Any other distinguishing characteristics that you think make your village unique, or that you're, particularly proud of? All in 250 words. The key here is everything can be very concise. But again, we want to get a picture of you so that we can see who you're working with, and that will be very helpful. Please do give the specific amount you're requesting and describe major categories of expenditure. Again, there's a maximum available of $5,000, and it can be shared with up to 3 winners. So you may certainly try and claim all $5,000, and if you have an absolutely superlative application, well, you might be the only winner. But it also may be shared. But you can see that 5,000 is the max that's even available. And so we can't say too often that there are no bad ideas. Any program that leads villagers to be more comfortable with death and dying is positive. As Chris has said, you can hear his enthusiasm. And the next really repeats what we've already told you, that you can look at his book. All the proceeds of everything he does go to fund scholarships. And I've shown you what's on our Finishing Strong page. And if this is your first time, why, doing something simple and building on what somebody else has done is perfectly acceptable. The point is, Chris really wants more people to get engaged in this and to begin to understand the issues and to be helped. So you can start, really quite modestly. And the modesty of your initial application is not a strike against you. What counts is it a good application? For example, and we do want to say then, what you will accomplish with the funds, and what exactly are you going to do? Don't just give it a title. What occurs to me, and Kim, let's remember this, under village profile or your funding idea, somewhere up here, we need a title for your project, because when we go to describe it after the fact, I've noticed I have to sort of like make one up. So please give your project a title. And if this is a new program, tell us how you're sure that there is at least some interest. Again, starting small is fine. We're not saying we know that you want 10 people or more, but that you really have at least done a little bit of asking around, and you have a sense that there will be at least a key handful of people who are interested in this. And if it's not new, why just quickly tell us what you've done in the past and what people thought about them. And again, that section is 500 words. And the next section for just 500 words is how you're going to actually execute it. It often can be hard to set up implementation for a brand new initiative and to promote it. So certainly describing how you're going to support and promote your program is important. Details about how you'll do it. Above you says sort of like what you're going to do. Here you'll talk a little bit more about how you'll do it, and how you'll get feedback at the end. Because at the end of your program, probably at the end of the next calendar year or so, why we will be asking the winners to share brief presentations about their programs and how things went. And if applicable, if you have any community partners that are going to support or strengthen your program, why please include those. And that too is limited to 500 words. Now, I want you to know that on the judging team, there are no WAVE board members or officials. So they're all outside judges, and Chris will be a judge who will consider the following criteria. So we really would like something that isn't just a one-off, because as we've said here, it is hard to get them started. So something that at least has, several sessions outlined that you propose to do. Do you have a strong implementation plan? Does it look like you've really thought about what you're going to do? Are you really reaching out? Now, this says villages members, but as we talked about earlier, it may be that at least at the beginning, and maybe even continuing, you will open it up to your communities. Is it capable of generating support for longer term activities on this issue. Now this we realize that that's a hard one to measure or to state, and that's a little bit more tenuous there. But we would like to know that, gee, this is going to plant some roots, and that we'll be able to go on. And can it be replicated by other village? Again, copying is good. So if you do something good, we'd like others to be able to copy it. It's clear enough and clean enough that people can understand it. So I'll stop now and take questions. I'll keep this up on the screen in case you want me to repeat anything, but are there any questions about the application? And because I'm most well seeing my screen, please do either speak up or use the hand symbol on reactions. And Kim, you can help me watch for this. So questions?
Mary Jo, this is Chris. Thank you so much for going through that. That was excellent. I'm just looking in the chat room, and Maria, thank you so much for pointing out that excellent website, mydirectives.com. I encourage people to use that, mydirectives.com. Maria has a very good comment there about it. And then Jan asked, is this the first year you're offering the grant? And Kim quite rightly responded, no, this is our second year, but it's going to be ongoing year after year. So it'll be again, we'll offer it. Gail, I intend this to be an ongoing thing with program.
And the Finishing Strong webpage that I directed you to, and I'll put it up again at the very end of the session. It has little thumbnail sketches from the winners last year. And so you can see that there were programs last year.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? None? Does this look doable to you? I hope so. As I say, the goal is not for this to be difficult, but for it to be easy. And easy for you to do something that's good for you and your village and your community, and maybe good through replication for other communities. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to stop sharing now just so I can see who might be on.
So Mary Jo, it's 11:53, so we're coming to the end. So if anybody has any questions on the application, we welcome them. But also, anybody have any questions on anything, or comments, or feelings, or anything they want to share, or anything that Mary Jo and I can elaborate upon, elucidate, clarify, any comments at all from anybody on anything?
I had a question. Sorry,
Yes,
I was
please.
a little bit late coming from another meeting. I was
Yeah, no
wondering
problem. Yeah.
if Chris, if you or if there's anybody else who might be available to come talk about the topic at a village.
Yeah,
Do
definitely.
guest speaking engagement?
Yeah. I give pro bono talks. I give 2 or 3 a week, and I love to do it. And I love talking to villagers. So if any of you want to invite me to give a workshop, and I talk on a variety of topics, everything that I write about in this book, which is everything to do with death and dying and aging. I did talks on all those things. So yeah, so Christy, please invite me. I'll be delighted to do that.
Great, thank you.
You can see that Chris is passionate and energetic, and I think he makes a big impression.
Wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Tess has a question. Hi, Tess.
I do. Thank you. Hi. I think you mentioned this, but do we have access to the other award winners in years past so we could look at their applications?
Yes, it's on our webpage.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Well, no, you won't see their full applications. All you'll see is a little thumbnail sketch.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, I was just thinking, like, even if we don't have the greatest award winning application, it might be good to see a sample of one that was submitted just to get additional ideas. I mean, maybe you're just pushing us.
I really can't.
Book and all that. Okay, that's fine.
But you know, I think
I
Mary
think you
Jo,
can do it. I think you can do it.
but Mary Jo, can I ask you if Tess wanted to call or email one of the winners
Right.
to ask a
Yes.
question, that would be
I think,
okay.
I think their contact information is on there. And if
Great,
not,
thank
then we'll make sure to take a look at that and,
And Christy asked for my email address. And Kim, would you mind putting it one more time in the chat room? Christy, it's christopher.n.palmer@gmail.com. But Kim, we'll put it in the chat room. There it is, right now. So
I had a
Christy,
question.
sure.
I just wanted to ask, with this award, is it like a new program or new service that you would want us to make, or can we build off of something that we've already started?
Okay, Rubina, just pose that question one more time. I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask, with this award money, would you want us to create like a new program or new service or new, just like an informational sessions for the seniors, or can we build off something we've already started? Like,
Both are good. Both
Okay.
are good. Both are excellent. We're really looking for the thing we're looking for really is a commitment from a village to do something, and it could be anything, but we're looking for a sort of ongoing commitment that and it could be building on something you've already done, Rubina, or it could be some brand new idea, or it could be just replicating what I did at the Bethesda Metro Area Village, which has started small, is built up, and so
the Golden Age Village is very good at reaching out into the broader community. And Rubina, I don't know if you had in mind tacking this onto some of your suppers. I had said earlier that certainly is one example of what I think could be a very positive way of starting something like this. But again, I know those suppers may have special meaning and special purposes, so I'm not trying to push that.
No.
Give you credit
So
for
we
something
have
that-
actually touched some topics at the Sunday dinners. So that's why I was asking if we could just build off of that. But I think this is something that, like, after listening to everybody talk, and especially about the advanced directives, even with my own parents, I'm not sure that they have it. Like, I need to check in on them. But I was just wondering, like, is this something that should happen on a more frequent basis? Like, what is the baseline for the programs?
I think, well, the application just said we don't want a one-off. We don't want a single event. We would like some sense of multiple events, and we don't name a number.
Okay.
I guess more than two, probably. We probably want more than two also, because it takes a little while to get things rolling.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And not at all, Rubina. And what I do at the Bethesda Metro Area Village is I do monthly events, but it doesn't mean you have to do that. But that's a monthly event is a good thing to aim at, perhaps.
No, I really like the.
You
You
say
just went
again,
mute. You just went mute when you started to talk.
Rubina,
That's okay.
you're muted.
No, I was saying that I really like the idea behind this because it's a topic that nobody wants to face. And, with a gentle and more subtle approach, we can come across this. But I'm seeing more and more that when the elderly, especially in our community, are getting sick or in the hospital, they don't have directives. And then it's like Dr. Tufel said, that the families are fighting.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to avoid.
Yeah, exactly, Rubina, exactly. Yeah.
Well, any other final questions or comments? So let me share my screen again, because I want to again remind you of. Can you see that? I wanted to remind you of the various web pages. You'll find a lot on that Finishing Strong Award page. You've got the WAVE email, you've got my email. I'm the president at wavevillages.org. And again, you've got Chris's email. So I'll leave you with that and say thank you so much for participating. And as it says, the video and slides will be available soon. They will be posted. And you have until, I think is it November 18th to get your applications in. And so we look forward to hearing you, and we hope that many of you, if not all of you, will have some good ideas.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for coming this morning and for your interest. Mary Jo and I really appreciate you taking the time out to join us this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
You
Thank
all.